Hi, welcome to Forgotten Legends of Sound. Today we're doing something kind of fun. We're doing the 2025, it's the 70,000 Tons of Metal cruise recap kind of thing. It's been a couple months since we got off of it, but it's kind of like we just never had time to really do this. We know we already kind of did a video while we were on the cruise with like our friends Jake, Brian, and Brandon, but we wanted to have me and Kevin just kind of go more in depth and talk more about the bands, talk more about just the overall experience and stuff. So anyways, it's going to be kind of fun. We're going to just kind of talk about the stuff that happened before the cruise, and then we're also going to just talk about the cruise and focus on just all the bands, and then just kind of close out the video basically.
Yeah, it'll be nice too because this is going to be a similar video to the other video we did where I was telling the story of 2018. So it's kind of like a story time and everything. But, you know, Ian and of course Brian and Brandon and Jake were there as well. So it'll be cool to have you share your view of the cruise and everything. And I'll share my thoughts. And yeah, we'll just kind of jump into the bands also and everything. So yeah, it should be cool.
Fun. Yeah. So one thing that we all planned on the cruise was all of us wanted to make sure we got into Miami like the day before. So we had if anybody's flight got delayed or something crazy happened, we wanted to make sure all of us were there that Wednesday morning, an entire day before Thursday, so that, we would just be ready just in case. So I guess starting it out, like me, Kevin, and Jenny, we all flew out of the airport and we're all flying out to go to Miami. And it was kind of funny because like while we were at the airport, we see Brian, like out of nowhere, we saw Brian just walk up to us and he's like, "Hey guys, what's going on?" And, and we were just like, "Dude, what are you doing here?" Like, because he lives in a totally different state. And we had no idea that Brian's layover was in the state that we were leaving to get to Miami. So we were kind of just like, oh, cool. Like, so it was just kind of fun to be able to just all four of us fly out together, even though it was only me, you, and Jenny that were planning on like flying out
like together
Miami there. Yeah. So anyway, it's kind of fun, kind of cool. It was sort of a nice surprise, but Brian's seat was way far away from our seat, on the plane, so we didn't really hang out as much on the plane, but it was really cool just running into Brian, and it'd been a handful of years since I last saw Brian, so
like
that was really
eight
fun.
Years or something.
Yeah, it'd been a long time.
It'd been a while since we hung with Brian. So,
yeah, that was really cool. I think Brian saw us in the airport first, and he was like, "Hey guys," and then we're like, "Oh dang, like hey man." So we're like, I know we were going to meet in Miami, but we had no idea we were going to meet, like, that we were going to fly on the same plane to get there. So kind of fun.
The funny thing about the flight to Miami is, we had like a red eye Tuesday night, and we were getting to Miami like Wednesday morning. And we were thinking like, oh, dude, it'll be good. Like, we'll be there a good, more than a day early. We're going to just sleep on the plane and stuff. But that didn't happen. It's like Jenny slept a bit on the plane. But Ian and I, we were having such a good time on the plane, and we were like watching various like shows and whatever on the plane. And it's like, dude, on the plane, like people are like sleeping and whatever. And then like we're just sitting there watching stuff. And so people on the plane just hear these and we're sitting there trying not to laugh out loud with watching all these shows. So Ian and I stayed up all night on the plane watching a bunch of crap, and we just couldn't help ourselves, man.
So one of the shows is Curb Your Enthusiasm, and I had never seen that show before. Like I'd heard of it, so I was like, oh cool, I'll just check it out because I heard good things about it. And I was watching it, and I was freaking losing it. I was just sitting there going on this plane, and the guy next to me is like sleeping on the entire row because there wasn't enough, people on the plane. So he was just like sleeping, and I'm just like laughing my head off and going, woo, woo, and stuff. And everyone's just like trying to sleep on this plane, and some idiot is sitting in the back of the plane laughing at this freaking Curb Your Enthusiasm show.
And it's I hate to be that kind of person that bothers people, but we just couldn't help it.
Help it, dude. It was so freaking hilarious. So hard. And I couldn't, sitting in like the, regular seats, like never flying first class and crap. So it's like those regular seats, it's hard to fall asleep on those. So I was kind of like, okay, well maybe, I'll just stay up and just tough it out Wednesday and go to bed early or whatever. And I don't know. There's something about just that show and just watching it with you and just laughing that is just like, is so freaking hilarious.
Yeah. When we get to Miami and everything, it's like we haven't had any sleep or anything, And like, we check out the hotel and everything, and we pick Jake and Brendan up because their plane arrived a little bit later, So we pick them up. We go to like Waffle House. We're all talking, having a great time. We're all and at this time we didn't even know like like the schedule for the bands
Yeah.
playing. We didn't even know. Like, and it was kind of wild. I'll let you share the story of you meeting the drummer from Majestica, like at the hotel and stuff, and I'll let you share that. But like, we didn't know like the lineup of the bands of who's playing when or whatever. And apparently, like a lot of the bands didn't even know either.
Yeah.
You know, when they were gonna play on the boat and everything. So everything felt very like last minute and everything. But anyways, we eat at Waffle House. We're hanging out, having a good time. We check into the hotel, and it was cool because we stay there and everything, and we're ready. We are ready to get onto the cruise and everything. But in the morning, like
so we sleep at the hotel, and then in the morning, as we're checking out, I see some people that have like metal shirts, and I'm like, these guys are obviously going on some freaking cruise in Miami. Like, no metalhead is going to be at this time of morning. And anyways, so one of the people there, like I was like just like talking to him. And I was like, oh, yeah, I was wearing a Dark Tranquillity shirt. So he was like, oh, yeah, good band and whatnot. And he was from Sweden, too. And I was just like, oh, cool. Yeah, like, and then he turned out to be the drummer for Majestica. And I don't know Majestica super well. So I was kind of like, there was no way for me to ever recognize this person unless I was like a super fan, So I was kind of like, oh, yeah, cool, man. Like, I was like, yeah, I've heard some of your guys' songs and stuff. And like, you guys are pretty good, but I wasn't like a huge fan of their music and stuff. Right. But then I was like, oh man, like when are you guys playing? And he was like, oh yeah, we don't know when we're playing and stuff. And then I was like, oh, okay. So then I showed him my phone and I was like, here's what the schedules look like. You guys are freaking playing like was it the next day that they were playing?
It was I can't remember. I know it was.
I think it was like day 2. I think it was like day 2 and day 4. So I was like, oh, by the way, you guys play tomorrow or whatever. And so that was like kind of fun and just a good time. And then we like drove. So we drove somewhere to grab some food. We went to like IHOP and ran some errands. And then we're driving to the freaking. We're driving to the cruise, and we're like, oh yeah, GPS, please help me out, And then the GPS is like, oh, take this exit. And then on this freaking exit, like, we see this giant dump truck and this regular truck both crammed into this freaking exit. I don't know if anybody else went on this cruise and they saw this shit show here, but it was literally a dump truck and another truck freaking crammed together on a 1-lane exit. And it was the exit that you had to take to get to the cruise or whatever. And we were like, oh crap. So we were like, oh, we have to like go through the city and stuff of Miami to get there.
Yeah.
And we were whole
because it's like our check-in time was like 12 o'clock, and you want to try and be courteous on how you set up when you're checking in to try and be at your check-in so that everyone just doesn't flood at freaking 3 or 4 p.m. or whatever. So we're trying to get there on time and everything, and it looked like something out of freaking Looney Tunes. It's like Looney Tunes where these 2 cars are smashed together and blocking the whole exit. And so we're like trying to go, and Jenny's driving and everything, and we're like, okay, I'll take this exit, and I'm like trying to guide Jenny and everything. So it was just like a freak show.
Yeah, and
trying to get to the port.
As we're driving past, I could just feel it. Every single person driving past is just like, you stupid. And the people are like just sitting in their cars because they can't really like get out of their cars. Yeah. It didn't look like anyone was injured or anything. It just looked like they both tried to squeeze in at the exact same moment, and they both just got stuck, and they were just chilling in their cars like, oh, somebody get me out of here. Yeah. And I was like, take me to the fudging cruise. I was just like, I couldn't believe it because it felt like so many obstacles. Man, anyways, so that was, and then throughout the entire drive there, we were like making jokes about how like Miami's like got to have some freaking like, garbage trucks, slamming into other cars over and over again, like public service announcement. When does Miami tell us that the freaking garbage trucks and other cars are blocking traffic? And anyway, it was just
like,
funny.
Must be a Miami thing. Watch out for dump trucks because you're gonna get in an accident. Like it's just ridiculous, but it was kind of cool because as we're checking in and everything, like. Jenny and I, we split off. We dropped all of you guys off with the luggage. Yeah. Jenny and I had to drop off the rental car and everything. We meet these like Brazilian couple who also dropped off a car. And so we were like, hey, let's just share a taxi and stuff. And so it was cool because Jenny and I got to talk to them. I can't remember their names now, but and we're like, oh yeah, what shows are you going to see and stuff? And I guess they were excited to see Arcturus, and we're like, oh yeah, that'll be cool to see Arcturus and stuff. Yeah. And so it was just kind of like, we're just bond. It's cool to just bond with people from all over the world over like metal and everything, So we get to the check-in and everything. And while Jenny and I are standing in line, those of you out there probably know the Wyatt's Metal channel. Like the Wyatt's Metal guy was standing behind me, and I was like, "Wyatt's Metal?" And he's like, "Yeah." And I was like, I watched some of your videos, you know, and that's all that I said to him, you know. And so
his videos are really funny.
Yeah, he's pretty funny. And so we check in and everything. We get onto the ship and everything, and like, I guess like it was really cool because like Jenny and I had done it before, but this was the first time for you, time for Jake and Brandon.
Yeah.
But I'll let you take it away from here. You know?
Yeah. So then from then on, like we went on the cruise and had an awesome time. I know we kind of covered, you know, some of the highlights and stuff, but
our favorite moment, our most disappointing moment, and then something that was unexpected and stuff in that previous video. But
I don't know if should we just jump right into the bands now?
Because once we got on there, you know, there had to be a little bit of time. We do the little that was one thing that was different is like the whole safety check-in or whatever. It was like you just go to the place and be like, hey, I'm checking in. They're like, oh, okay, cool. And you just like watch it on your phone or whatever.
Watch
like
safety videos.
Back in 2018, we were like on the side of the ship and we like, I think we even put on the little,
life vests.
Yeah, exactly. And
they're like, we don't care about that.
Yeah. They're like, hope you can swim. Yeah. But it was kind of nice because things were a lot more
like streamlined,
I guess. Yeah. And you know, you're just like, yep, I watched the video, sure, whatever, you know. We get our like, you know, room and everything, and we had one of those rooms with 6 people and stuff, which was cool.
It was really cool just being able to just like look out at the ocean and stuff, and like I don't know, and it was cool seeing the little like marriage, like from our room or whatever, we were able to like see the marriage happening. Like that was like kind of fun, cool. And it was pretty magical because like I had never been on the cruise and stuff, and then like seeing them set up that whole like the stage on the outside and stuff, the pool side, and just kind of walking around and just being like, wow. Here we go, you know, like this is going to be sick. And that was awesome.
What we want to do now is we're not going to follow it day by day, you know. We're going to go into each band and everything, and we'll talk about like, you know, each band and what shows we saw, what sorts of experiences we had and everything. This is definitely going to be a long form video and everything, but of course the first show we did go to, just to mention, was Twilight Force. They were the first show on the Royal Theater or whatever, you know. And
although me and Jake both went to see Onslaught, because Onslaught started like half an hour or something before Twilight Force, but you guys saved our seats at Twilight Force. So we were kind of like, okay, well, me and Jake will see, because it seems like a prick thing if one person is saving like 5 seats. It doesn't seem so bad if 3 people are saving 2 seats. You know, I don't know.
And I was nervous that like all of these early shows were going to be packed because you know, no one wants to go on the ship and then be like, day one, I'm a little tired, a little jet lagged. Like no one wants to.
You know, everyone wants to see something.
Everyone wants to see something, even if they don't like the band. So generally, a lot of those first couple shows and stuff are just packed because everyone's like, this is the show going on, and so anyways. But so let's go ahead and get into the bands and talk about them.
So the first band is Arcturus. So Arcturus was one band that their first show was on the first day. And it was like 3 in the morning, so it was like pretty late. That first day, dude, I was pretty booking it. Like I was pretty much like throughout the trip, I was like, man, I know I'll never get another chance to do this. So I was going pretty hard to try to see as many shows as possible. And even then, I could see some moments where I'm like, I kind of wish I stayed even later or longer or whatever. But it was pretty awesome. That first Arcturus show, me and Kevin were like sitting in the little down. So one thing about the Royal Theater is like the sound is different when you're down, like at those seats below it versus the seats above it. Like some things like sound differently. Like guitars may sound like louder at it. Anyways, it's kind of strange that way. Anyways. Earlier in the day, I guess Brian and Jake were like, oh yeah, we'll like wake up and stuff to see that show with you guys. And that was like early in the day. And I think it was just kind of like, okay, yeah, we'll see you. But I mean, this was like hours ago. And I was like, okay, well, me and Kevin are here, who knows.
We went to Septic Touch first and then we went to Arcturus.
Yeah. So then you and I were sitting there and I just figured everybody was probably too tired and just still want to sleep or whatever. But Jake and Brian did end up waking up. So they both went on the top part of the Royal Theater to see Arcturus. And depending on where we were sitting was different experiences, because where me and Kevin were, like when Arcturus was playing, it was pretty cool. Like it was fun just seeing some of these songs and stuff. And it was kind of it almost felt surreal at times. It was like the most surreal sounding show.
It was pretty cool, even though like there was something about that Arcturus show, especially that first, because we did see both Arcturus shows. The second one was in the Studio B or whatever, but that first show in the Royal Theater, something felt like it was missing a little bit.
Yeah.
But then something also felt a little special.
Yeah,
Like it was kind of a strange show, and like
Yeah.
it was kind of funny because while we were like watching the show and everything, I wanted them to play like Kinetic, you know,
Yeah.
I wanted them to play like was it Track 5 or whatever?
Yeah, Starcross.
Starcross.
Yeah.
I wanted them to do more Sham Mirrors because I'm
Yeah.
mostly familiar with Sham Mirrors, but like. You know, some of the songs going and stuff, and Ian and I, we're like singing, we're like
Yeah.
rocking out, and this guy comes up to us and he's like, "Oh, you guys look like you know what you're doing, and you guys look like you're having a good time, so I'll hang with you guys." We're like, "Yeah, man, Arcturus is sick," you know.
And one thing that was a little like we wanted so they did Nightmare Heaven, and in Nightmare Heaven during that breakdown part, there's that dee and dee well, anyways, during that part, 3 a.m, there's just 2 freaking guys going, "Hey, hey,
Yeah.
hey," and our voices are all gone and crap by then, so we're like squeaking, "Hey," you know, during that part, and we're trying to be loud because we want everybody to join in and start going,
Right.
"Hey," during that part. But I think like maybe half the people had no idea that this is like they're just like watching like what is going on. You know?
Arcturus is a weird band because I've never met anyone, even people on the boat. It seems like Arcturus is the kind of band that people like and are curious about.
Yeah.
But I don't know if I've ever met someone that's like diehard, freaking
yeah.
knows all lyrics and like whatever. It's
Yeah.
I don't know because I did feel like the audience was kind of dead or
Yeah.
asleep. Maybe it was just the
maybe
3
it was just the
a.m.,
3 a.m.
You know?
Yeah.
But
And it was like they did do like Chaos Path, and they did a handful of stuff from La Masquerade, and they did like I think 1 or 2 songs from Sideshow Symphonies.
Yeah.
They didn't do anything from Arcturian from
That
that
surprised
first
me
show.
for
That
that
surprised
first-
me.
yeah.
Yeah. But the only songs they did from Sham Mirrors is our favorite record from them. So like the only ones they did was Nightmare
2
Heaven
and 3.
and Collapse Generation on that first show.
Or 4, 2 and 4.
Yeah,
because they did 3
Ad
on the-
Absurdum on the second.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, but
Right.
it was cool. There was something very strange, but I really liked it. It was a really cool show. The sound was strange, and it was too bad because Jake and Brian, they said they couldn't hear like the vocalist or
Right,
something at
right.
all. So they were kind of like the show wasn't very good for them. But to me and you, the sound was much more better when we were kind of like near the sort of like control station or whatever, you know,
down below.
So yeah, really fun show. The second
show was pretty cool too.
that one was
you
in
know.
Studio B.
I feel like I kind of like the first show a
I
little
like
more.
the first show more
you know?
too. Yeah.
It's just the second show was still cool and everything,
Yeah.
but I just find it wasn't as memorable of a show.
I
for
felt like
some
there was
reason.
something like weirdly magical about that first show. Being
Yeah,
at 3
yeah.
a.m., all of us are like dead tired. There's something I don't know.
And it felt like in the Royal Theater, it felt like everything was purple and like
Yeah.
dark. Like there was just a good ambience. with
Yeah,
that
Jake
first
and
show.
Brian said this light show sucked too. Like for some reason, the certain lights just where they were sitting on that top part was like kind of like fudging with them, and they're kind of like, man, this like I woke up for this crap. Like,
Yeah,
You know, but
But-
it is what it is.
But I'm
you know?
glad we saw Arcturus. We did see both shows,
And
and
glad
that
they-
was a band that we never thought we'd ever
Dude,
see in our
never.
life.
Yeah,
You know, so
I
that
never.
that was like whenever all the bands were being announced, you know, the previous year when they announced Arcturus, we were just like, oh heck yeah.
Yeah,
you know?
I was so excited because I am a fairly big Arcturus
Yeah,
fan.
more so than me.
Yeah, and I was
And
kind
I'm
of just
bigger with like everything else.
Yeah.
No, that's not
Yeah.
much.
but like I was glad they did that Ink song at the end of the second
Oh,
show.
yeah,
I was
yeah.
like,
That was
dude,
pretty cool.
I was so surprised they
Yeah.
were going to do that one because that one's like a faster one and it's just more
Yeah.
intense vocally. And I was kind of like, dude, this is sick. Like I'm down. I'm surprised they didn't play Arcturian Sign, which really
Yeah.
surprised me because I think that one's like kind of a more popular song from
Yeah.
Arcturian. I wanted to hear Demon too. You know,
I did-
where's the
I-
Demon? You know,
yeah,
I wanted Kinetic. You know, Starcross,
I did like the Game Over one, like what track 5?
Yeah,
on. Like I thought that was pretty.
That
cool.
was cool.
you
Game
know,
Over was
but-
good. Crash Land was good. So one disappointment too was like there were so many bands that had other members that could have easily guessed it on something. I was so confident
Yeah.
that Arcturus would play Radical Cut because Ishan was on, and I say Ishan now because like freaking only like 3 months ago, like I've been saying Ishan throughout my whole freaking life,
Yeah.
and then everyone's just like, "What Ishan? You fudging idiot!" No, but I was so sure that they would do a Radical Cut because he was on the ship too, and I'm like, dude, that's easy. Like, just play the freaking song, let Ishan do the freaking, because I love that song on Sham Mirrors. So it was just kind of like, I felt like, man, that would have been really cool to have him guest and do that song. I don't know why they didn't, but, you know, who knows.
Yeah, and we'll get into also, because the same complaint we have with other bands too.
Yeah.
It just felt like some easy, like, but we'll get there.
Yeah,
Like,
there was easy moments where you could have made this a little more special.
Yeah,
It was already special,
But yeah,
yeah,
like both
it was
bands
just
are on the boat. So
I know,
do the song
like,
where
do
you guys
the song where you
collaborated on.
collaborated.
Like,
Yeah,
why
like
not?
that would have been cool. Like, why
Yeah.
not? You know. Anyways,
Yeah.
so that was Arcturus. Great shows. Really fun to see them. Never thought I'd see them. Just a really good opportunity.
Yeah.
Yeah. So the next band is Abysmal Dawn. Yeah, I didn't see them. Did you
Yeah,
see them?
no, we didn't see them.
Yeah, no,
You
I
know.
don't know much about them. And then the next band is Benighted. Dude, Benighted is. I should put on my glasses. I feel like I could
You having a
really
hard time seeing?
I'm having a hard time seeing these freaking letters, man. Holy death. Yeah, so Benighted. That first Benighted show was really cool because it was kind of like a best of sort of show. And Benighted was a band that I wasn't even into. Like, Chad liked them, but I didn't really listen to them. And it wasn't until like they were announced on the boat that I really started like listening to their albums. And then from then on, I was like, dude, this band is freaking sick. So then I started just like listening to the crap out of them in preparation to see them on the boat. And that first show, I think it was like early in the morning on that. It was that first day
It was the
too.
first, yeah,
The
yeah.
first day, it was in the lounge, the Star.
Oh yeah,
was it-
yeah, yeah.
The Star Lounge.
Star
Is that what it
Lounge,
was?
yeah. It's
Yeah.
like Pyramid Lounge,
Pyramid
Star
Lounge, Pyramid
It's-
God. You know.
yeah, I feel like they switch it up sometimes
Yeah.
because like it used to be called the Alhambra Theater, but then
Yeah.
it was called the Royal Theater, whatever.
Yeah.
But, yeah.
Yeah, and I loved that show. I thought it was really cool. The band was freaking hardcore. I was not like at the very front, but I was kind of like I was pretty still fairly close to the front ish, and it sounded so good. It sounded
Yeah.
awesome. So the whole time I was just freaking headbanging and just having a good time. And yeah, they played some really good songs, and yeah, that was a good show. So that first day, like, everybody kind of like went to bed, but I stayed up for like a couple bands while
Right,
everyone
right.
kind of took a break.
Because I took a nap
Yeah.
after a certain band or
It was
whatever.
what, after Kalma?
Either
like-
no, it was Sonata, then Hammerfall. I think.
Hammerfall,
and then like I went to
Kalma, and then you guys,
I went to
yeah,
bed, yeah.
and then everyone
And then-
kind of went to bed
Because
except
you
for me.
you saw like Candlemass and
Candlemass and
Emperor.
Emperor,
You know,
yeah,
and
then Benighted was
Benighted.
like after
and
that.
then I got up for like Septic Flesh.
Septic Flesh was
and
after
Arcturus.
that, yeah. Then
So-
Arcturus, man, that was
Yeah.
dude, such a stacked day.
Yeah,
So
it was
much
pretty
awesome
cool.
music.
Yeah.
But yeah, I liked that first one.
The second show though, Jake and I went to the second show
Yeah.
for Benighted, and
Yeah.
it was cool. It was for the Carnivore Sublime
yeah, Carnival
album, or-
Sublime album.
like, and that was
cool.
pretty cool. And you know, it was cool too because Jake, like, so Ian's the most into like a variety of metal genres and stuff.
Yeah.
I'm probably second. And then third
Yeah.
would probably be Jake. You
Yeah.
know what I mean? So
I
us
agree with
three
that.
are probably the most into metal and stuff. And Brian and Brendan are much more
Yeah.
like the prog power.
prog power, maybe
kinda
a tiny bit of
tiny-
thrash.
yeah.
like, that's kind of their bread and
and
butter.
a tiny bit of melodic death metal if
Yeah.
we push it onto them.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But it's like Jake was kind of blown away with the Benighted drummer. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And Jake was just kind of, this is pretty cool.
Yeah.
And I had a good time too because I'm not a big grindcore kind of guy. But it's just like, dude, seeing the bass player just going. And he's like laughing and he's smiling and stuff while the other guy's like, you know, and go, you know, and it's just they had a very good, fun presentation,
A lot of energy.
and that's the thing too is like sometimes it's like the way the band performs and everything, they can win you over, and I
Yeah.
felt like Benighted was like just having such a good time with it.
They
and
totally
everything,
won
you
you
know?
and Jake over because
Mhm.
when the day before we even went on the cruise, like we were playing like random songs from some of the bands we're gonna see, and then we were playing a little bit of Benighted, and one of the songs was called Noise, and then Brian was like, "What is this noise we're listening to?" You
Yeah,
know, and
yeah.
it was just like kind of funny, but yeah, it was kind of not a band that anybody really cared to at first,
Mm-hmm.
and I was really glad that Jake and Kevin went to that second Benighted with me because I went to the first show by myself, and I was kind of like, it's more fun when your friends are there to
Right,
rock out
right.
with you, you know. So that second show, they stayed for like half of it or whatever, and then they left after. I stayed for the rest, but it was just cool because I was just like, dude, I'm glad you guys enjoyed it too, and you know, I'm not the odd man out who's just like, dude, Benighted is sick for you know, whatever reason.
Yeah.
But yeah, great. Those were some great shows too.
And I missed Benighted in 2018 because, like I said, I'm not a big grindcore guy.
Yeah.
So I rectified it this
I
time.
know.
You know, like if you saw
Now you're
that
like,
that
death
other
grind is a part of your
yeah.
diet a little bit now.
If you saw the previous video we did, you know, you'll probably think like Kevin didn't see anything. You know, I rectified some
Yeah.
things. You know.
Yeah,
So,
you saw a lot now.
Yeah. Should we press on?
Beyond
So-
Creation.
Yeah. Next is Beyond Creation.
Yeah, we didn't see
Yeah,
them.
we didn't see them.
I've heard some of their stuff, but I'm not as into their technical death metal as much. I like some tech death, but they just didn't really capture me too much. So
And then next band, Candlemass.
Candlemass.
I didn't see Candlemass, but
I only saw like half of their show. I like Candlemass, but I'm not the biggest Candlemass fan. But they were cool to see. It was something different. But yeah, it just didn't really. Some of that slower doom metal stuff is not. I tend to like my music a little bit more faster and upbeat and stuff, you know.
But it sounded like, just from hearing other people on the cruise and everything, it sounded like Candlemass did a great job.
Yeah.
Like there were definitely a lot of people that were really like, oh, dude, Candlemass was a sick show and stuff. But,
yeah, you and I just weren't really the target audience of like huge Candlemass fans, but it was cool seeing them just for like a bit at least, you know. Like I was glad to. I wanted to at least see some of them because I was like I knew like a little bit of like what they're playing, but I didn't know a ton.
Cabricon.
Yeah,
we didn't see any of their
them.
shows. Crown Shift. We saw both shows, but only parts of both shows, and we talked a little bit about this in the previous video and everything.
Yeah,
both shows just had some problems and everything, like just technical issues. And stuff.
The first show, like it was on the pool deck. And that first, like, the second day when the pool deck was open was really, really windy.
Yeah.
So during the shows, there'd be tons of tech people trying to, like, hold stuff down, trying to fix things while the wind was just going crazy. Yeah. And Crown Shift was having, like, a lot of issues. And I don't know if we should... I mean, we already told that story.
We don't need to tell the story again.
But anyways, so we were like, okay, well, we'll see them at the second show at least, because this one is kind of having some issues. Yeah. And then when we saw them in the second show, it just, like, the sound where we were at just wasn't,
the bass was so loud.
Yeah, it just they seemed like a cool band, but it was just kind of, circumstances kind of got in the way for them.
In the way. Yeah. It is what it is,
Yeah, Decapitated. We did not see Decapitated. I do like Decapitated. I think they have like some stuff that's like pretty cool, but I'm not like the biggest Decapitated fan. So it's kind of like when there's conflicts and stuff, I'm kind of like, there's other bands I'd rather see,
And that's the thing is like, when I was on with 2018, it was just Jenny and I, and like we kind of like were a lot more relaxed and everything, just kind of and we really did try and see as many shows as we could, but there was just some shows that we just couldn't make it because it's just conflicts and whatever, so.
Destinity is the next band.
Yeah, we did see one.
We saw like what, one or two songs, kind of.
A little bit more. We saw
a couple,
like 3 or 4. I thought we were there for like
really early in the morning.
Yeah, it was
or late in the morning.
No, it was.
I thought it was like
we saw them right after Crown Shift, because it was like on day 2 or something, and we like skipped out on Crown Shift. If I'm remembering right, I might be wrong.
I thought they were like early in the morning, and it was like after Arcturus, and we like stepped in and watched like a maybe.
No,
was that painful?
No? It was. Or... We did Crown, because we had this morning where it was like not a lot was going on and stuff. So we did like Crown Shift, then Destinity, and then Septic Flesh on the pool deck or something. So it was kind of like we were filling in with some stuff. Although. Because, like, I think Crown Shift was on the pool. Then we go to the Royal Theater. Destinity was there in the Royal Theater.
I think you're right.
And then we go to Septic Flesh, like on the pool side.
Okay.
And then the day started picking up with other bands that we really wanted to see and stuff. But we had some time in that morning of just kind of seeing
some random stuff.
Some random stuff.
Yeah.
And like Destinity's a band that I kind of want to get more into.
Yeah, me too.
I've only heard that like 2021 album or something like that, and I've listened to the album like
in
once.
Continuum or something.
Yeah, something like that, and it sounds pretty good. You know, so it's kind of like I feel bad because like I was like I was on one of their YouTube videos and I was like, oh hey, like I'll check you guys out, on the cruise, and then the band responded on YouTube like, oh yeah, I can't wait to see you there, and so I also kind of felt like, okay, now I have to go to a show, just to see, and they were pretty good, but it's just
I want to be more into them too. Like I've heard like a handful of their albums and stuff, but I wouldn't like I don't know their music like I do some other bands. So kind of a band that's like pretty cool, but we're both still too new to them.
Very new to Destinity.
Yeah. So. Delain we did not see.
In the past we've seen them like 2 or 3 times in the past, so that was a band we were okay to skip.
Yeah, Dirk Schneider is one that I wish that I saw. But it was kind of like. The time that he played, like one of the shows was during the dinner hour, and it was kind of like, okay, well, this dinner time we can't skip some of these other bands that we want to see during the dinner time, like at the what's that place called with the dinner, like
I can't remember,
like
but it's like the fancy So it
was like, okay, we're hungry, let's just get this food. So it was like,
and you have to go there. I can't remember the time, but between like 6 and 8 or something like that, So it's kind of like. a lot of people go to that because it's just really great dining, and you don't want to
Yeah.
be eating at the buffet place all the time, you know. And so, yeah.
So I wish I did see Dirk Schneider, but what can you do?
One of the issues with Dirk Schneider is like they literally announced Dirk Schneider the day before the cruise, so there wasn't really a whole lot of prep time or anything for you know. But that's another band that a lot of people were like really excited to see Dirk Schneider, and I would have, because I like some of that heavy metal classic type stuff.
And I also didn't know that they were going to play a ton of Accept, you know, because I don't know any of his like solo material. I only know the stuff that when he was in Accept. So it was kind of like, okay, well, it was a little bit of a gamble of like, if I had known that they were going to play a lot of that freaking like 80s Accept stuff, that probably would have pushed me a little more to like try to see him.
Right,
but
exactly.
It is what it is, you know. Emperor, I saw the first show and then half of the second show.
I went to the second show with you.
Yeah, you
saw part of that. Yeah,
the first show it was okay. In the Night Side Eclipse is like, I like it, but I don't like it as much as the second album or the fourth album from them. So I was more like, I wanted to see the Anthems album played live much more, but it was still kind of cool. It was like in the Royal Theater. And it sounded pretty good. Like it was cool and all, but yeah, it didn't really move me. But that's, I don't know. That's because like the album, I don't love the album.
Yeah.
So I'm not like, you know, oh man, they gotta play this freaking song.
Right.
You know, like I am the Black Wizards, man. You know, I'm not like freaking, you know, like you know. But then that second one was like after Symphony X, and you and I. Well, did I run up first and then you found me, or we both ran up? Yeah,
something
we both
like that.
Yeah, we both ran up and
it was on the pool side.
Yeah, it was on the pool side, and sounded pretty cool. Not a lot to say about Emperor. Like it was cool to just see them because I liked their music, but I'm not a huge Emperor fan, so I'm not like, you know, not like some of the like I wasn't like Arcturus where I'm like, dude, man, I've loved Arcturus for over 20 years, and you know,
I do like, because like we're not going to be into all of these bands, but I do like that we took some time to see if these bands can win us over some more.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And so, it was still cool to see.
Yeah.
And I guess it was kind of unfortunate because I guess like their one of their members, like Visa didn't go through or something.
So the guitars were like pre-recorded.
It was, so that was unfortunate, but it is what it is. But yeah. The next one is, I guess, you could
go
say.
ahead.
How do you Fabulate, Dramatas, or whatever. We didn't see them. I don't really know much about them, you know.
Antwerp, Belgium.
Yeah. Ex Deal was one that we only saw one show, and it was like the second day on the pool deck and everything. Yeah. And that's one where we stayed for roughly 2 or 3 songs or whatever. But that's a show that I was actually kind of surprised, you know, because I'd listened to some of their stuff before and stuff, and I was like, you know, I like Septic Flesh and stuff, but I'm not a big fan of like Flesh God Apocalypse and like other sort of symphonic kind of death stuff. Yeah. So I figured like, they're trying to do this whole Roman niche, whatever thing, you know, whatever. But they really did win me over, and I liked the drummer, you know, doing all his stuff. It just sounded great live, you know. Yeah. And every time the guy was like, you know, singing, it'd be like, and everyone going along. You know, I can't remember it's like track 2 off their newest album or whatever. But when they were opening up with that song with, you know, I was just, it sounded really cool live, you know, and I was just kind of like, dude, this is great.
Yeah, they kind of made me like rethink, like I might get into them, you know.
I've heard their like that newest album and everything once. And it was pretty good, but there's also some things lacking in it, and I'll have to listen to them more, and maybe we'll get more into XDO. But I will say though that seeing them live did kind of win me over a little bit.
Yeah,
you know?
They did sound pretty good. Next band is Fintroll, and we only saw one show. It was the light set, and it was pretty good. They did some good songs, but you left. I left early. Had to run to the restroom or something, and
I missed Trollhammer.
You missed Trollhammer. Yeah, and you're like, so like earlier, like the day before, I missed Hearts on Fire from Hammerfall.
Right.
So then, whenever I told you that you missed Trollhammer, and you didn't believe me because you thought I was just kind of joking, with the, you know. But they closed it with Trollhammer in, and it was really fun to see them. Missed the second show. There was like a conflict, but it was cool to see. I never thought I'd see Fintroll either.
Right.
You know? Like kind of cool.
Flotsam and Jetsam, we saw one show and we stayed for most of it, I would say.
Yeah,
and that was for the Doomsday
for the Deceiver album.
And that was
pretty cool.
Yeah, that was on the pool side and everything.
Yeah.
And so that was cool, especially with like the long track order. I think the vocalist guy was like, yeah, we've probably only like done this song like once.
Yeah.
In our whole 40 years
he
of
said
playing,
that.
you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that's the cool thing about the cruise is like getting to see like shows and getting to see things that is like they're not going to do these songs or they're not going to do this stuff on like a normal tour when they're trying to promote the band or they're trying to promote a new album or whatever. So it's really cool to get these special moments. And that first Flotsam and Jetsam album is pretty good. You know, I like some of that new wave of British heavy metal thrash early stuff. Like, and so that was pretty cool.
Yeah, really fun.
The next band is Hayden. We didn't see them, you know. So yeah. Next we've got Fractal Sun. We didn't see them either, you know. Eshan, I think, did you see one?
I didn't see any.
Any?
No.
Oh, okay. So yeah, we didn't see any Eshan.
I think there was conflicts and stuff. Another one might have been like during like food or even maybe during the day of signing. Like day 2 was like the day of signing and stuff.
Yeah.
So like meeting artists, and we saw like we did 3 of those. We did one for Symphony X, Stradivarius, and Sonata Arctica.
Right.
And that took out a huge chunk of time to do all 3 of those. You know. And if I could go back, I would probably skip signings altogether and just only fill that time with shows because. One of the band, well, I guess we could get to it, but the Covenant, I wanted to kind of see them, but that was like during one of those times, and it's like, well, see Stradivarius or see Covenant, you know, it was one of those kinds of like signing for Stradivarius or Covenant, you know.
Out of all the signings, I was most happy with the Symphony X signing. I felt like that was pretty cool. Plus, like, it was kind of cool. I don't know if I should wait until we get to Symphony X to talk about them. But like, just we'll wrap up the signing aspect really quick. It was kind of cool because, you know, we had like Michael Romeo's The Dark Chapter. We had Michael Pinello's Beyond the 12th Gate album. We had some Symphony X albums. You know, they signed them all and everything. And I told, you know, Michael Pinella, I was like, yeah, me and Jake, we played this. Well, Ian too, he was there. You know, we played this.
I went to your guys'
track 4, Beyond the 12th Gate. At a Battle of the Bands back when we were in high school and everything, and Jake, you know, was doing the whole and
that is on YouTube if you find it.
So we did a Battle of the Bands or whatever, and we were doing like a Camelot song, but we added in other stuff or whatever. So I told Michael Pinella that, oh yeah, we did one of your songs like at a Battle of the Bands, and he was just like, oh, cool, you know. And I told like Jason Rillo, I was like, hey man, the Primus videos are great, and he's like, oh, you like those, huh? You know, and it just, they seem like pretty cool guys and everything. So that was cool.
Yeah, but they don't seem to be just like, I just want to sign this crap so I can freaking get out of here, you know.
I had an unfortunate event with Stradivarius, but I'm not going to tell that story. But it is, I agree with you though, like sometimes it's better to not meet band members and just, you know, be in love with the music and everything, and just so it is what it is. But let's push on. So next is Hammerfall. We did see both shows of Hammerfall, you know, and they're a band that like I've never actually seen Hammerfall. I've had the opportunity like a couple times to see them, but it just never really
quite
worked
out.
You know, it never quite worked out. And we've been in Hammerfall for more than 20 years. Like they were one of those bands we got into
right from the beginning.
Right from the beginning. You know, Legacy of Kings was an early album for us, you know. And I will say that. Oh, go ahead.
Oh,
go ahead.
just when they played "Heeding the Call," I was so into
that
it.
First
I was
show,
just like, dude, that first show is so great.
That first show, because what they opened with, I think they
what
opened.
Did they open with?
I can't remember what they opened with, but I feel like it was.
I know they did the Dragon Lies Bleeding. I think that was
on the second show. Yeah, I can't remember what the first track was that they opened with, but I think it was kind of like a good standard straightforward like song.
I think it was one of the newer ones.
It might have been.
Yeah,
might have been.
It was a newer song.
But then like while Joachim Cans or whatever was like talking and stuff, and then the drummer was like, you know, doing that whole Heeding the Call intro, and he's like, you know, blah 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 blah, you know, and then they go right into Heeding the Call and stuff. Dude, I was like, heck yeah, man, you know, because it's just. I love the early era of Hammerfall. Some of their songs get a little bit of annoying, you know, and we were making jokes because
that Hammer High song.
That Hammer High song, they played that song at both shows.
And we were like,
that's the thing is like,
I have way better songs than Hammer High.
Some of the bands they did way too much repetition songs, like doing certain songs again, and that was a little bit disappointing because it's like, dude, you've got a big old library, you know, and so, and I get it. There's certain staple songs that they kind of feel like for instance, Stradivarius did Black Diamond on both of them because for the Visions album, but also for the best of. Yeah. And I get it. Some bands are like, well, if someone can only go to this one show, we don't want to leave out our most popular like songs. But I don't think Hammer High is one of like their, you know. I know. And so like we were like walking around the cruise, and Jake kept on saying like he like, don't forget your hammers, guys. You know, don't forget to hold your hammers. You know, and we were just like, dude, yeah, it was starting to get annoying to where like, don't get me wrong.
Even Brandon, like it was like another day entirely. He's like, "Oh, I got that song to me. Oh, what song? Hammer High is a freedom cry." And we're like, "Mother!" And then it was like in all of our heads now.
Yeah, exactly. It's awful. The song is really catchy and everything, but it's semi-annoying a bit in that regard. And I'm just kind of like, dude, I would have been cool with them playing the Legacy of Kings song, you know, maybe even the Dreamland or whatever, you know, and the
Glory to the Brave or something.
Glory to the Brave would be great, or like Keep the Flame Burning would be awesome.
Yeah.
Like
they
there's
did
so many,
though, right? They did. I thought they did Keep the
Flame. Track 2 on Renegade. No, the only thing they
did
off Renegade was the
Renegade song.
Yeah, Renegade. That's the only Renegade song they did. Yep. Although wait a minute. They did do an instrumental song. Did they do that?
An instrumental
I can't remember.
I can't remember.
We can look up the set list, you know, whatever. Yeah. But all I know is, okay, so that first Hammerfall show
that was great,
really good.
But me and Jake left early because I wanted to see Heroes to Us from Kalma, which Kalma was starting like pretty much right as Hammerfall's done.
Yeah.
And so then they did freaking Hearts on Fire, and I missed that, and I was just like, that was so dumb of me. But well, and I did enjoy seeing Heroes to Us from Kalma though. I don't love the Swamp Song album. Like it's a good album, but I don't love it. So I only saw like the first couple songs for it with Jake and. Yeah, I mean we'll talk about Kalma later.
Yeah,
but I was like, oh man.
So some of the other like
instead of playing for Hammer High, I played Hearts on Fire.
Well, like it was cool. I'm glad like it was cool that they did Renegade and like Hammerfall. It was cool to finally see them because I'd never seen them live. You know what I mean?
I also loved Any Means Necessary. That was really cool. Didn't they do that both shows too?
I think that was one
that one was really dope.
The one song that I was surprised that they did because it was kind of like a 20th anniversary of the Wild. Call of the Wild. Yeah. And that was cool. Like live whenever they're like unbowed, you know, unbroken. You know, like that was cool because like it's not my favorite album from them or anything, but it was kind of cool to see some of those songs because they did like maybe 3 songs from that. Like they did track Secrets,
Bloodbound.
That's what they opened up the show with. I think they opened up with Secrets.
Did they?
I think so. And then they went right into Eating the Call. Does that sound right?
No, it doesn't sound right at all.
we'll have to look up the set list, but I feel like they opened up with like Secrets or something. But whatever.
I think they opened up with a new song.
Maybe. Could be.
I don't know.
Anyways, it was cool to see Hammerfall and everything, and
it was cool. Both shows were great. Yeah,
I liked Let the Hammer Fall too. Having the Majestic, singer and guitar guy go on there and play with them. That was pretty cool. I tell you what though, like it's funny because like
Judas Priest moves going on. You know,
it's funny because that Oscar Dronjak guy is so tall.
That dude is tall,
and he's so recognizable. So I would be at like other shows and I'd see him at the show like watching another band. And that's the cool thing with the cruise is like you go to these shows and then all the other bands who are playing and stuff, they're like, cool, I get to see other people play too and everything, you know, like that's pretty cool. But anyways, Incantation, we didn't see Incantation.
I'm not a huge old school death metal fan, so
In Extremo, they're a band that was on in 2018. I didn't see them then and I didn't see them this time either.
And I've heard some of their stuff and it's okay, but it's not like I gotta see them, you know. So then we've got, what is that, Kalma? Mm-hmm. Yeah, got Kalma. Maybe you should do this.
You want me? Okay.
Your eyesight's better than
Kalma,
mine.
so
and like, I dropped my glasses over there.
Kalma was cool. We talked a little bit about like you and Jake going there. We did go to pretty much the entire show.
Yeah.
We left a little bit early, but we did most of the show.
We did the entire
Yeah.
album, but then they had a couple songs after.
Yeah, and we had to get to
another one. So we were kind of like, we saw the entire They Will Return album, and that was pretty sick. Like that was on the pool deck, and that was when Jake had that story of the smoke.
Right.
But that was awesome. I loved the keyboardist dude for Kalma. He was really awesome, and the guitar dude was awesome with his soloing and stuff. And I enjoyed that show a lot. That was awesome.
One thing that was cool about that Kalma show on the poolside is they did their second album in its entirety. That was a show that actually won me over, and ever since the cruise in like the past 2 months, I've gone through that album like 10 times, you know, and now I'm much more familiar with that album and I enjoy it, you know, and it's not as high for me as maybe like Children of Bodom, you know, like one of those albums and stuff, but it's still a pretty good album. And again, it's like, yeah, they had an opportunity, because I'd listened to Kalma 20 years ago and stuff, but I never really got into them. So that was cool to see them live and have them win me over. Plus, like the Kalma keyboard guy, the dude was a trooper, because he was doing all the keyboard stuff on the whole
For Whom the Bell Tolls.
Yeah, when he's like you know, like, what do you call that? It's like, in the past they called it like the Waters where all the bands get together and they play a bunch of classic rock metal songs and everything.
Yeah,
it's kind of a jamboree.
The All-Star Jam,
you know, in rocking with Waters on international waters or whatever. Anyways, he wasn't there that time, I guess.
Whatever.
But like the Kalma guy was always there. He was there also for like Moonchild.
Yeah,
you know, he did Moonchild. And
that was a good. As far as that like jam show, Moonchild was pretty awesome.
And Jason Rillo did the drums for Moonchild. You know, because like he was talking to the keyboard guy for a bit. And like, that was really cool that bands get together and do that.
Yeah, that was cool. It was fun seeing those old school songs.
Next is Christian. We didn't see Christian. Kissin' Dynamite. We didn't see Kissin' Dynamite either. Lutharo. Didn't see them.
Yeah.
Majestica. So we saw one show.
Yeah.
We didn't see the second show where they were like, you know, doing the whole second album and all that. We didn't do that. It was kind of late at night and stuff, and we were like, you know, we'll get some sleep. But the first show, I think was pretty good. You know, like it was enjoyable. I like Majestica, but my heart is in like the 90s and 2000s kind of power metal stuff. Yeah. Like all of the 2010s and beyond stuff, I'm just not as much into and everything. Yeah. But I'm still glad we went and saw the show.
I'm glad we saw too, and they were fun, they were enjoyable. But yeah, I'd agree with you. Like they're a good band, you know, but like compared to a lot of other power metal stuff, like I feel like my power metal diet is so saturated with so many bands that I've already loved for so long that I'm kind of like, they have some good songs and they were fun to see live, but bands like Arcturus and stuff, where I've been loving them for freaking 20 years, like those were the more magical shows, or even like Septic Flesh, or you know, seeing some of those were just in Stradivarius, you know, like there was just so many other shows that I was so wanting to see and were much more magical, but still Majestica is pretty cool.
Yeah, true. So I'm glad we saw them and everything, but yeah. Next is Metzatol. We didn't see them, you know. They were on in 2018, but I didn't see them then either. All right. Matalobos, same thing. We didn't see them. Mork, we didn't see Mork. You know.
Nope.
And then we've got Onslaught. Onslaught's like two bands, like Onslaught and like Warfield are like two of those like thrashy kind of bands. You know,
really. I mean, that's Flotsam and Jetsam kind of too, but
that's one thing I was a little disappointed with the lineup with this year, is like it was not a thrash year.
Yeah,
2018 was such an insane year with like freaking Crater, Exodus.
Yeah,
there were like two or three more, man.
Yeah,
Sepultura was there.
Sepultura was on ours too. Yeah, okay.
On ours
so we only had like three kind of.
But there wasn't as much thrash stuff like there was in 2018, and you know, you guys can look up the 2018 lineup. Thrash was pretty crazy for that particular year. Yeah. So I was hoping that we would at least get something like a Testament or something like that. But who knows? Maybe in 2026 we'll see. Yeah. So we didn't see any Onslaught.
Me and Jake saw. Like,
that's right. That's right.
I think that first show, I think they were doing the Power from Hell album. I think I can't remember, but like they were pretty good. Like, but yeah, you know, not a band I love, but like kind of cool though.
Yeah. Painful. We didn't see Painful.
Didn't see Painful.
I think maybe we walked in on a show for like just one song. Maybe.
Yeah.
But I can't remember.
I can't remember
but,
either. But I did listen to some of their stuff, and their new album I think is like kind of cool. But,
Yeah, didn't you pick it up while you were there?
At the merch place. I only bought this Arcturus shirt, and I bought the Painful album, and then did I get another shirt or just those two? I think I only got Arcturus shirt.
Yeah, I think so. Because I got the 2 Symphony X shirts.
Yeah,
and,
2 Symphony X. Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyways, yeah, but I was
Do you wish you got like a hoodie or anything or no? Like
no,
I love the hoodie. I love the
yeah.
70K hoodie. I wore my 2018 hoodie out. And everything, so it was nice to get another hoodie.
I was fine not getting one. Maybe I'll get one when I go again or something. But
and we're definitely gonna go to the cruise again.
Yeah,
like
and I was just wanting to save money.
right,
You know?
yeah, makes sense. Yeah, Pessimist. We didn't see Pessimist.
Didn't see Pessimist.
Yeah.
No.
Power Glove.
Man, I forgot it was even on there.
Yeah, Power Glove. Yeah, we didn't see Power Glove.
No.
Although Jake, I think
He saw one of those.
the Super Monster Party.
Yeah, Jake saw a little bit of that.
Maybe
Jake
we'll
was
get
a trooper too. Like on the cruise, like Jake went to a ton of shows and stuff too.
Right. Yeah.
Like at the end of the cruise, we all like tallied up how many shows all of us saw.
Yeah.
To see who saw the most shows versus who saw the least shows.
Do we have
I
that
think
paper? I think
it might be on one of those over. I think it's. Didn't I put one over there, bro?
There's. Yeah. You can check
this out,
but then also.
Yeah, is it on there?
I'll let you look at
Okay,
it, but I'll
look
keep
it up.
talking and stuff.
Yeah,
you
so
know?
we don't have dead air.
Yeah. But yeah, so we didn't really see Power Glove. That kind of like I was like weirded out. Well, not weirded out, but I thought it was weird that like they had 2 Nintendo bands on the cruise this year, and I was just kind of like
Kind of weird.
like yeah, I was, you know, I mean, you had Trollfest, who was already kind of a joke band and stuff, and then you got 2 Nintendo bands or whatever, and so it was just kind of like,
Nope, none of
I guess it's just one of those years, you know.
Yeah, but I think I went to the most shows. Jake went to the second most,
And then I was
you were
third, and then
Brian
Brian
was Brian was
then
fourth,
Brennan.
and Brandon was fifth, and then Jenny was sixth.
Yeah,
Yep.
yeah. Samael is a band that like it's another regret because
Yeah.
I wanted to see them because I missed them in 2018 as well. I'm not the biggest Samael fan, but like
One of the shows was like 4:30 or something in the morning.
yeah, it was like really early, and there was
yeah.
some conflicts and things, and so it just kind of didn't work out.
didn't work
you know?
out,
But that's
yeah.
another one that I'm kind of bummed out.
Yeah, Covenant and Samuel are the 2 that I'm probably and Dirk Schneider are probably
Yeah.
the 3 that I'm the most disappointed that I missed or
Yeah. Reaping Asmodia, we didn't
see
see them.
Yeah.
Yeah, you know. Septic Flesh, so we did see both shows. I'll let
Yeah.
you take this away for the first show.
Well,
'Cause it made a big impact on me, I
big
guess.
impact on me. So it was in the first day, and it was like after seeing all those, and then you woke up because it was like Emperor, Candlemass, Benighted, and then like Septic Flesh on that
Yeah,
first
at
day.
2:15 in the
Yeah,
morning.
so then I like ran, you and I met up and we saw Septic Flesh together. And this is in Studio B. Studio B seems to get a lot of crap, but dude, when you're sitting at that middle part looking at the band straight on, it sounds amazing in there. And dude, they played Vampire of Nazareth as the opening track. I was like getting chills. I was like, man, this is so sick. And it was just so like the symphonic crap going on and whatnot. And it was his vocals were insane. It's like, my brothers and sisters, you know. I thought they were really cool. And I'd never seen Septic Flesh before. But yeah, I don't know. That first show was really cool. Like I was really digging it. I wish they played more stuff that I knew because I don't really know much from their newer albums.
Yeah,
you know?
yeah.
And they played a couple songs from like the newer albums, so I wasn't really familiar with those. But still, like it was still an enjoyable show. That first one.
I kind of felt like, I wanted to hear more stuff from like Sumerian Demons, and I wanted to hear more from Communion.
Yeah.
You know, that would have been great if they did Babel's Gate. You know what I mean? That would have been awesome. But I felt like
I wanted them to do like 5 Pointed Star. You know,
Yeah,
like,
5 Pointed Star would be
like
great,
dude,
yeah.
that song is sick.
Yeah.
Probably the closest they've ever gotten to like a Melodeath, almost black melody
yeah.
kind of song. I don't know.
But it's just so I do wish the song selections were a little different. I felt like, you know, because I looked up the set list, and because we didn't stay for all of Septic Flesh for either show because we had to get somewhere, you know.
We just
but
stayed
when
for,
I
like the majority of it.
but when I looked up the set of like what we missed and stuff, it did feel like they were just trying to push more so the last 10 to 15 years of their discography.
Not really
and
playing
stuff.
much of the 90s or anything.
Yeah, and there were some duplicates too that they played at, but because they opened with Vampire of Nazareth on the second show as well, and it's a great song and stuff. But again, you kind of wanted like a different show, you know what I mean? But if you're playing duplicate songs, then it feels like you're just doing the same show just a day or two later, you know. But that's Septic Flesh was great live. That's another band that I'm glad that we saw, and I rectified because I wanted to see them in 2018, and then it just didn't work out, you know. And because I got into these guys back in like 2008 when the Communion album was like new, you know. So anyways, but yeah, I agree with you though, like in the Studio B and everything, and
it sounded great.
It sounded great, man, and I was rocking out and just going ham. So,
no, it was a good show. It was fun.
Yeah. Sepultura. So we went to the first show. And dude, it was so crowded. Packed. It was so packed and everything. We only stayed for like 1 or 2 songs.
Yeah, the first couple.
Yeah,
like they opened with Arise, and then they did Dead Embryonic Cells, and those were like my 2 favorite songs. So I was kind of like, okay, well, you know. So I was kind of like fine that I saw those first 2 songs, you know. And then they switched off to like I don't know, it was like a kind of a newer-ish song or something, you know, for like the 3rd track or something. I don't know. It might have been something from like I don't know. They did a song that I wasn't as familiar with, and then we were kind of like, it's so crowded. We're like standing here, like So then we left after that.
Yeah, and it was pretty late at night too. Yeah. So we are like, okay, we'll just kind of go to bed. And everything.
Then we missed the second show too.
Yeah, because it was late at night.
Yeah, it was late, and that was the last day too, and we were just kind of tired. And I kind of wish I persevered a little bit more, and maybe had seen more Sepultura, but they're a band that I do enjoy them. I think they're pretty cool, but it's kind of a hard one to, when you don't know what they're playing and whatnot. Like if a show is a little more specific, like if it's like, here's Beneath the Remain and here's the Arise show,
right.
I would be freaking all there. But if it's kind of like playing a lot of their 90s groove metal stuff and whatnot, then it's kind of like, well, I don't really like that stuff from Sepultura all that much, you know. So it's kind of a, you know, anyways, so yeah, but it was cool to just see him for a little bit though. You know?
Seven Kingdoms. We mentioned before, we ain't gonna see Seven Kingdoms. We're not, you know, nothing against them or anything, but dude, I've seen them like 5 times or something, because, you know, we were living in Florida at the time, and like they were always the opening band for a lot of like power metal band that came around. You know, if we went to a Sonata show or a Camelot show, it's like Seven Kingdoms was opening. You know, and so it just, I knew that we weren't gonna see any shows. You know, so it is what it is. But Sonata Arctica, I'll let you take this away, because we did see both shows.
Yeah, and we did already talk about this somewhat in the first video, but the first show I thought was really, really good. I really loved that first show. And that first day was really, the first day might have been the best day of shows in a way.
It was kind of short, because the first show started at 6 p.m.
That's true. But it just seemed really magical, because it was kind of like, it was like, Twilight Forest, and then Sonata Arctica, and then Hammerfall. Like that was just a solid set.
And then at night it was, you know, Septic Flesh and Arcturus, and then of course there was Benighted too. You know.
Yeah, maybe not the best day, but it was just a really fun way to start with, like in that Royal Theater with those 3 bands was really cool.
Day 2 had like Stradivarius and Symphony X both on the poolside and stuff.
Awesome too.
Like all the days had something cool.
Really awesome. Yeah. And I did like that first Sonata show. They played some really good stuff. And I was surprised they did San Sebastian at that first one. I was surprised, and I was like, dude, this is pretty cool. And, yeah, not much more to say about that first one.
Yeah, and we won't harp on some of the things, because in our other video we talked about some missed opportunities. Yeah. But like what we were saying earlier, though, like, dude, it would have been cool if Jens Johansson came out and just started playing the Cage, because he played that solo on the Winter Hearts album, like he does that intro solo or whatever, you know. And same thing with like, dude, why didn't they do False News Travels Fast with Timo Cotopelto singing along as well? It's like missed opportunities like that where, dude, Stradivarius and Sonata Arctica are both here. Why not do some of those songs where you guys have collaborated together? And I felt like that was a missed opportunity.
And I was really hoping they would do like White Pearl Black Oceans on the cruise, and they didn't do that at either show. So I was really bummed out about that. But at the same time, I still love Sonata Arctica. They're still like one of my favorite bands in the world, and I've seen them a ton of times before, but that first show was really fun, and the second show was like some good stuff, but then some kind of lacking stuff, and then some repeats too. Any band that repeats songs like Septic Flesh or Hammerfall or whatever, it always kind of like loses a little points as far as like
it makes the second show seem not as good. If I missed the first show, then I wouldn't be as bummed out for the second show. But it's like, dude, especially if like, you know, like Sonata was, I felt like they were kind of trying to push their new album and stuff.
Mm.
When you're duplicating songs from your new album and stuff,
Yeah.
that's like the last songs that you want to be
Yeah.
like. If you did Full Moon on both, you know, like shows, I wouldn't complain as much, you know.
Yeah.
But when you're doing duplicate songs from the new album, it's just not. That's not the album that people like love and
Yeah.
you know, whatever. But anyways,
So yeah, first show definitely felt more magical. It was in the Royal Theater, and then the second show was a mixed bag.
mixed bag, yeah.
Yeah.
And it was cool too because Brian and Brennan had never seen them, so it was cool for them to have that experience to
Yeah.
see Sonata.
Because that's the thing, dude. You, me, and Jake, we saw Sonata at their first like American tour for the Reckoning Night album, and we saw them in Florida, and that was like one of the most
Yeah.
magical shows
Yeah,
I think of our lives. Like it was so awesome. We were in high school, and it was just so freaking amazing.
yeah.
And then we saw them again when they came for Unia as well,
Yep.
and then we saw them again, you know, through a bunch of other albums. But man, it was just like Sonata does mean a ton to us. Like
Yeah.
their music has just freaking been with us, you know. Like it's you know, it was still really fun to see them. But at the same time, if I'd never seen Sonata Arctica before, I probably would have been way more like,
Right,
oh man,
right.
dude, this is sick. But because I've seen them a bunch, I've like, I guess like, you know, it's just the like the saturation of like, oh, the first like freaking donut tastes amazing. The fifth donut
yeah,
doesn't
yeah.
taste that amazing, you know.
Was there a Sonata song in particular that you enjoyed the most with them playing live? Just kind of
Yeah.
curious, you know.
Hmm.
Because on
I'm
oh, go ahead.
I'm not entirely sure. Yeah, I'm not really sure.
I think for me, honestly, like, I think for me it was probably Full Moon. You know, just having the crowd,
Yeah.
you know, singing "Runaway, Runaway."
Yeah.
it's always a feel.
It's
good
always
moment,
a feel good moment.
you know.
Yeah.
And so it's like,
Yeah, Full Moon might have been up there. San
Yeah.
Sebastian was kind of up there for me too. 'Cause-
Wolf and Raven was also pretty cool. I'm glad they did that one
Yeah.
live, you know, but it didn't punch as much as I wanted it to. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? But yeah,
yeah,
anyways, just kind of curious.
just
you
curious. Yeah,
know. Next we got Storm Ruler.
didn't see
Yeah,
them.
we didn't see
but
them.
I've heard some of their stuff and they're pretty cool.
Yeah, Striker. We've seen Striker open. I think for like Blind Guardian or something like that.
Yeah,
And so, yeah, we didn't see him on the boat or anything. We had already seen them before, so it was
Yeah.
okay. Stradivarius was pretty cool. We
Dude,
did see both shows.
amazing. Yeah,
And like, dude, okay, I don't know which show I liked more. Maybe it was the Poolside, but the
Yeah.
Visions album was really cool too. And it was kind of interesting because they were like, well, we were
Yeah.
gonna do the Visions album
first
on the Poolside, but we
it
thought
was
it'd be
like-
better to do it in the Royal Theater, you
Yeah.
know? And so, yeah, both of those shows were just awesome. Oh, whoops. Forgotten Legends of
interruptions.
interruptions. But yeah, dude,
That
I
first-
guess that first
man.
show, yeah,
That first show was simply amazing, man. I loved it. The wind was blowing. It was dark out. It was on the pool deck, and they played so many freaking awesome songs. And
Yeah.
I loved that first show. That was awesome.
some of the highlights for me with that first show is I did love that they played 1,000 Rainy Nights.
Yeah,
Like,
and
that was cool.
They did Will of Sunrise tomorrow. They did
Yeah,
that one
yeah,
too.
Will of Sunrise
that
was
was
great,
freaking
yeah.
sick. Like
Yeah,
yeah,
that
they
was
did
awesome.
Speed of Light too.
Speed of Light
Yeah.
was cool too.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I was like
that
this.
yeah, because I love the episode album. It's
Yeah.
just awesome. You know.
Yeah, they did. Hunting High and Low was amazing. Eagle Heart. They opened. With
Yeah,
Eagle
I think
Heart,
they did.
didn't they?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, and that bass solo was great. The bass player did a bass solo, and it was like a
Oh.
feely kind of slow.
Oh yeah, yeah,
While everyone was kind of
yeah.
whatever.
Like 7-Up or
It's
something.
it's just stuff like that, just to make the show a little
Yeah,
bit
forgot
more
they did
different
that,
and
yeah.
not like
And then
a
some
by
of
the
the
numbers show.
newer songs they did too were pretty cool too.
Yeah,
You know,
that one song, I can't remember what it's called, but
Survive or the
it's the slow one with the.
Oh, that's the Frozen
it's
in Time.
Yeah, I think so.
Frozen
It's
in
like
Time.
track
Yeah.
5, 6, or 7,
Yeah.
or whatever it is.
And then
That
they
song-
have that pause, and then they go back to
Dude, that song did sound really good live because when the drummer's just banging on the floor toms and everything,
Yeah.
and just like it sounded so huge. Yeah,
it's freaking.
It was that was a cool
crap.
that was a cool
That
one
was,
live.
that was pretty
Like,
sick. Yeah,
and that's the thing is like, dude, like I love it when drummers give it their all and everything. The
Stradivarius
Stradivarius drummer, he
he
was on
sounded
top of
amazing,
it. Yeah,
yeah.
he was on top of it. He was
guitarist was sick
you
too.
know, yeah, he was on top of it. Like, dude, like it's just because if it looks like you're freaking slouching or whatever, and sometimes you got technical problems or mechanical problems that are not your fault,
Yeah,
where just the sound coming out, it's But Stradivarius just sounded so on point. Everything was working and firing on all cylinders, and Timo Kotopelto sounded great live.
Yeah.
I was worried that he was not going to be able to do as many high notes or whatever, but he sounded great.
Yeah.
You know,
And the whole Visions album for the second show in the Royal Theater was really special too.
Dude,
that was fun seeing those songs.
Hearing songs like Coming Home and everything, you know, me, Jake, Ian, and I, like, we living in Florida and stuff, we used to drive around and play Coming Home and to play some of these songs like at night while we're driving somewhere or whatever.
Yeah.
And I know Jake would agree, like, seeing Stradivarius, having it be a part of your childhood and to finally see them, because we'd never seen them before, was a magical thing. So Stradivarius is one of the best bands that I think, like, them and Symphony X were my two favorite bands live, you know. They were just on top of it and just doing great. So but
awesome.
Yeah, man, Stradivarius was freaking awesome. Plus, like, some of those other songs, like the instrumental song for Visions, was, you know, pretty cool. You know,
it just Paradise was fun. You know, everyone singing along, like in the theater, like everyone was singing that chorus.
And
like, that was cool.
It was cool too because they switched up the order of the songs. And everything.
They, like,
you know,
they straight up. I think the vocalist, it was like the vocalist. They started.
Didn't he say like a different song or something?
Yeah,
like, what was that?
I thought they were supposed to do Coming Home, or they're supposed to do something. I can't remember which one was it.
I can't remember either.
I can't remember.
But there was
they did
one
it out of order where I think they did like.
And they almost forgot one or something.
Yeah, they almost forgot one.
But I can't remember. Like,
I can't remember. Yeah,
it's all good. Huh. And Black Diamond's always great, so you know what I mean. Like, it's awesome. Subway to Sally. We didn't see Subway to Sally. Suffocation. Yep, another band we didn't really see. Swallow the Sun. We didn't see the first one, but we did see the second one. And this one was a little bit unfortunate because my wife wanted to see it and everything, but she wasn't feeling the greatest and everything. And I remember, like, she was planning on meeting us at the show, and I was like, "Where is she?" So I'm like booking it. I'm like running to get to the room to make sure Jenny's okay, and she's like, "Yeah, I'm okay, you know, you do your thing," and I'm like running back, you know, and I missed the first little bit of like the EP,
and then I was like, "Don't worry, that dude just be laying on the ground the entire time."
But it's like, you know, they did that
play
EP,
ballet.
Plague of Butterflies or whatever, and they did the whole ballet and stuff, and that was really cool to see. We were on the top balcony and everything.
Super moving. I loved the ballet. I thought it was really cool. It definitely made the song have much more emotion to it, seeing it. It was cool. And then they played like a bunch of songs after. Most of the songs were from like their new album, and that was like pretty cool. I dig the new album. I think a lot of people were kind of like not enjoying it, but I enjoyed it, so I liked it. They played like one song from The Morning Never Came. I think they played track 2 from that or something, but they played like a handful of songs afterwards.
One of the cool things too is like a lot of the security people working and everything, a lot of them are also metalheads too. And so I remember talking to one of the security guys. This was like right before the Symphony X show, and he was like, "Yeah, I'd go see shows and whatever." And the one band that he couldn't see because he was working security and stuff was Swallow the Sun, and so he was so bummed out. He was like, "That's the one show I really wanted to see, but I couldn't because of my schedule and everything." And I was like, "I'm sorry, man. I'll see it." You know, we made sure to see it because it was like on day 4.
Yeah,
for
like the last day,
and we wanted to make sure.
Hammerfall and then Swallow the Sun, maybe. Like we went from
Hammerfall
to
I think that's it. Yeah, and I think we even left Hammerfall early.
Yeah, you know, to try to get to
Swallow the Sun. And so Swallow the Sun did great. You know, and it's just again having those opportunities for something special is just really cool.
You know, one thing I'm gonna do a little bit different the next time I go is if I really love a band, I'm going to stay for the entire show. And then, because if I'm worried about seeing the beginning of the next band or getting a good seat for it, like, it'd be hard if it's 2 bands I really, really want to see next to each other. But if it's one that I really want to see versus one that's like I kind of want to see, I think I'm just going to stay because you're guaranteed to at least get a decent spot probably for that next one. And I was a little bit more like worried. I was probably the most worried on the boat of like, guys, we gotta get this. You know, if we get there early, we gotta
of getting a good seat. There were plenty of seats.
But there was plenty of seats for a while. Yeah. So I think next time, I'll be a little more chill, probably less annoying. You know, but I was just so like I just didn't want to miss something, or I wanted to have just the best experience possible. And that's why I miss freaking Hammerfall.
Well, and sometimes it does kind of suck because you're kind of like, I saw the show, except for the last 5 minutes, and it's like a little bit of completionist, wanted to be there for the entire thing in case something special is said or something is,
or they do their best song at the freaking
end.
Yeah.
Super Monster Party, we didn't see. I think Jake went and saw a little bit. Maybe even Brandon might have gone with him too.
Yeah.
And
maybe Brian too. I don't know.
They said that they played like Pokemon and like some other stuff and whatever. And I just don't care about the
video game music stuff. Yeah, I'm not huge into that either.
But Tankard, we did see Tankard like on the poolside. We saw one show and we saw a good bit of it. Excuse me. I think we stayed for like maybe 3 or 4 songs, maybe maybe half of the show. And I thought that was they were pretty good. Tankard's the kind of band though that I don't see myself really getting into. They're fine. I just don't have that motivation to really get into them.
There's like a lot more other thrash bands I'd like. If I feel like thrash, I'd throw on this instead, kind of.
Yeah. Symphony X was great. We did see both shows and everything, and there's only one show that we got there early enough to where we wanted to stay at the front, and that was for the Symphony X poolside. And I'm glad we did that to give like Brian and Brandon that experience of being at the front of the show.
Yeah.
And it was really cool because as they're like preparing and getting ready for the show, Michael Leapon, the bass player, is just sitting there and he'll be like, and he's just like screwing around on his bass and stuff, And
one thing that was funny is like, so when we were there, Brandon was like standing aside, and this guy like just walks up in front of him, and he's like looks back, and then Brandon's just like looking at him like,
dude,
and the guy's like,
he looks at me.
Yo, he looks
at me, and he's just like. He's like, and I was just kind of like looking at him, and then Brandon's like looking at him, and like everyone's looking at him, and then he was like, "Oh, were you here?" And then Brandon's like, "Yeah, I'm there." Then he says like, "Well, be there, or else someone's gonna take it," and then he like walks off or whatever, But because that's the thing is like, dude, like a lot of people want to be at the front, and like, dude, you'd go to a show.
Like Brandon's like, "Sorry, I'm not freaking humping the freaking bar, like I'm just standing here with my friends."
Like, there's times where you would go to a show and we'd be like sitting in some stands or whatever, and there'd be some people doing some work or whatever, and then they'd move, then a bunch of people would just run to the front to get to the, because people like to be in the front,
and it is fun, but you usually have to sacrifice and stand there for an hour before,
exactly.
But Symphony X, that first show was amazing. So fun. They sounded amazing. Russell Allen's vocals were just like on par. Like as far as like vocalists go, he was one of the best vocalists on the cruise as far as like, what it sounds like from the studio to live. Like he sounded amazing.
Plus like he did a good job of like interacting with the crowd, and like they just seemed very professional, and they knew that they were putting on a show, and so it's just some of the jokes and some of the talking and stuff. I thought Russell Allen did a great job being the front man and everything, and I thought it was great that this was on the second show, but him saying, without Michael Romeo there would be no Symphony X and everything.
Definitely the
like giving some credit, it just. Yeah, that was a really cool show and everything.
The second show was great too. Mm-hmm. There was a couple repeats or whatever.
Yeah,
and I was like, but they did do freaking Evolution, the Grand Design.
Yeah, dude.
And it was so funny because we're all sitting there in our seats or whatever, and we're all singing all the words to it.
Yeah.
And the guys behind us are singing along too.
Yeah.
And I think that, so in the first show, I really loved that they did like CO Lies and Of Sins and Shadows. Like that was really cool, Mm-hmm. But we did see them already for like the Paradise Lost and the Underworld tour, like when they went down to Florida. So it was kind of like seeing those songs was great, but we're kind of like, man, I want them to play a lot more old school stuff. So when they played like 5 is both of our favorite album from Symphony X, and they only played Evolution, the Grand Design. I wish they played so much more from that album because it's so phenomenal. But when that song came on, I was like losing my voice, and I was all singing like, "Here we are, telling us on and on." I was like, these two women are like sitting in front of me, and I probably ruined their experience. So I'm sorry if you were the two people sitting in front of me, but I was just singing along, and I was just like loving it, and that was.
And I have heard like complaints like in the threads and everything, and it is a valid complaint, but like. People saying that they're
thread. This Ian dude fucking sucks to sing, and he shut his damn mouth while we're.
But on like the 70K forum, you read different threads and stuff, and people have complained that Symphony X's like set list is just stale because they've been playing the same songs for a long time.
Yeah.
I do wish they did more deeper cuts and everything. But it'd been like 10 years since we'd seen them live, so it was cool to see some of them. Yeah, it's still enjoyable, and I agree.
Yeah.
Evolution was great on that second show.
Yeah.
The one thing that pissed me off with that second show, though, is that I feel like Symphony X started like on time and everything, and they're playing, and the lights didn't go out. for literally the first 6 or 7 minutes.
Yeah,
into
it took half the show until the lights finally went out, and we're like,
dude, like, is anyone doing their freaking job? You know, because
was that
like
the Symphony X show, or
yeah, because they started with
Stradivarius
it was Symphony X, yeah. They started with Iconoclast, that song, because they started
yes,
that, you know, and they started with that Iconoclast song or whatever, you know, and it was literally like 5-6 minutes into that song, and then finally the lights go out, and then they start doing more lights for the show, because it was just the lights are on and there's no like strobe lights, and so they were just doing their thing, just playing, you know, like whatever. And I think they were kind of like, yeah, we're starting at this time or whatever, you know. I don't know what the backstory is or whatever, you know, but like it was just kind of like, dude, come on, like, because like when you start a show, you want it to be dark, and then and then you know, going into it, and you know, just to create an impression. So I felt like, I don't know who did them dirty or whatever, you know what I mean, but I was like, come on, guys. But I also love that they play the Paradise Lost song live too.
Magical song.
Like, great freaking song, you know, and just, man, and that was funny, dude, on that Dehumanized song, you know, that's like, dude, he's got like, Russell Allen has the microphone and everything in this stand, and there's during the part when it's like, and then it goes into the second verse, and he pushes the stand down, and then like kicks it up with his like foot, and grabs the stand and starts, you know, singing the Dehumanized song, and I just like, and someone threw a hat on board, and he was all like trying to pick it up with his foot and stuff, and like it was just
kind of fun.
It was fun. It was really fun. I thought Symphony X did a great job live, and it was just awesome. So
yeah, both shows were great.
Tenebrarum, we didn't see them.
Did not see them.
You know, the Dread Crew of Oddwood. I actually did see them a little bit with Jake. Me and Jake did go there to like the Star Lounge or whatever, and they're all right. You know, I mean, pretty good. The drummer was doing some flip tricks and stuff, and they're kind of one of those bands where it's just like a fun band. But I can't be emotionally connected to a band just, you know, hunky-dory pirate whatever crap. You know, it's like, it's cool, but you know, whatever. The Covenant, we didn't see. I guess that's a big disappointment for,
What can you do?
Yeah. The Zenith Passage, we did see a little bit of one show, and it was all right. You know, it's you know, like, they're good players and stuff, but you know, it was all right.
It's like pretty cool, but not like my most favorite thing ever.
Yeah. The Morning, we didn't see. Thy Antichrist, we didn't see them either. Trollfest, we didn't see. Seems like a lot of people had a good time and stuff, but I don't really care about a lot of joke bands.
I'm not huge into that either.
Yeah. Total Death, we didn't see either. Trouble, we did see them, and they were having some technical problems.
Sound problems. Like the microphone was like not working. Yeah. I think that was the first show. It was like first on day 2 or...
Yeah, it was in the Royal Theater.
And then when they got that fixed, he went and got like a different microphone. Then it started sounding pretty good, and like they were like pretty cool. Not the biggest... Same thing with Candlemass. Like, I like them, but I don't love them. So
right, yeah.
You know,
all the Doom stuff is kind of just... Yeah. Twilight Force, we did see their first show. And it was kind of a good setup, because it was like, we'll see Twilight Force, and then we stay in our seats for Sonata, you know, and that's what we did.
Yeah. Then stayed in our seats for Hammerfall.
Yeah, but the problem is with Twilight Force is like I guess like the time, like they went over time or whatever, you know what I mean? And so we were like worried it was going to cut into Sonata's time, you know, and everything. So there was some delays and everything. And that's the thing. There are actually kind of a lot of shows that didn't quite start on time and stuff. And so I don't know how much of that is the band or just, you know, the mechanical problems or whatever, technical problems. Who knows? Twilight Force was pretty cool.
Yeah. I remember that second show was like in the morning sometime, and I just didn't have the energy to see it. But I wish I did. But
I do feel like Twilight Force, like, there was a moment when everything cut out for like literally 20 seconds or whatever it was. And so I do feel bad for the band, because I do feel like they had some technical problems.
Because it was like one of the first shows in the Royal Theater.
Yeah.
Not everything was like ready yet, I guess. I don't know.
Unleash the Archers, we did see one show, you know, in the Royal Theater. That was pretty cool.
Yeah, they're good. I don't know if I'd get into them, but it was a great show.
Yeah. I felt like the bass player guy was really into it and everything.
He was, yeah.
But I felt like, I don't know, man. I just can't get into Unleash the Archers. They just don't do anything for me, you know, the way that it does for other people. And then last but not least is Warfield, and that's another band that we didn't see. And I guess on the 70K forum, like, Warfield wins the award for being I forget what they call it. damn it, they win an award, whatever. You know,
Win an award. Okay.
But yeah, that's the 2025 program. You know, and
Yeah, that was our
was-
journey.
Yeah, it was a really cool experience, and we wanted to kind of go in detail of like which shows we went to and everything, because it was fun doing that video with Brian and Brendan and Jake about our
Yeah.
greatest experience, most disappointing, whatever. Like that was fun to do that. But Ian and I, we wanted to go in depth for everything. You know, that was our experience and everything, and I thought we did a pretty good job of going to
Yeah.
a lot of stuff.
Yeah, we went to a ton of shows, but I feel like I could have just gone down a little bit more.
Yeah, could have. Yeah.
No, it was a really fun experience, and yeah, I'm glad that when Sana was announced, you're just like, guys, get on this. We gotta buy
Yeah.
tickets now. You
Yeah.
know, like I was really glad that you got on all of us to just hurry up and get that done, and it was cool. Just it was something really awesome because. You know, some of our friends, like we mentioned in the video, like Brian I hadn't seen for many years. Like some of our friends that we, like all of us, like grew up together, so we've known each other like most of our lives, and it was really fun to do something really special, like go see a freaking, you know, ton of metal bands and a metal cruise together. Like there's just something about like creating memories with your loved ones and your friends and your family and stuff that is just like, you know, you can't really put a price on some of that stuff.
Yeah.
Like getting some of those experiences and stuff is just so awesome. So.
Plus,
Yeah.
like some of those, we had some late nights and everything where, you know, we'd finish a show or whatever and we'd go and get pizza and we'd find a little corner
Yeah.
and sit there and just eat some
talk
slices of pizza
stuff
and just
like
talk.
that. Yeah,
It was a cool bonding experience, and to go to all these shows
Yeah.
together and stuff. So I'm
agree.
I'm very grateful
was
we
fun.
had the opportunity to do this, and we're definitely going to go again, you know. And if the bands line up and everything and it's up our alley, then like
Yeah.
we're definitely going to try and make it. So
yeah,
I don't have much more to add, but that was kind of like our experience and everything. We flew home and everything and then resumed normal life. But I still ask Brian and Brandon and Jake, you know, 2 months later, I'm like, yeah, you know, we're still talking about the cruise and we're still talking about, you know, oh, what'd you think of this or that? And,
yeah.
you know, so it made an impact on all of us, you know.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, thanks everybody for watching. We're Forgotten Legends of Sound. And yeah, have a good rest of your day, you know.
Yeah. See you later.